When it comes to maximising both yours and your team's productivity, there is no one better placed to help than Emma Mills-Sheffield. Listed by F Entrepreneur as one of the top 100 female entrepreneurs in the UK, Emma coaches businesses and employees to reach their goals and increase productivity and performance. Given the current circumstances we find ourselves in, we all need to be listening to Emma.
Hi everyone, welcome to my talk on how to help your remote teams with productivity and connection. Thank you to everyone at Silicon Brighton Online for the NHS fundraiser. It's a fantastic day of talks and there's lots to learn. Hopefully there'll be some networking, lots of Q&A and an opportunity to kind of support the NHS and everyone in the community that's really helping at this time. I'm not going to use the words unprecedented or uncharted. I might use challenging, but I'm just going to call everything weird, okay? Everything is weird right now. So we're not together in person. We're doing everything online, which is, it's okay, but it's not the same. And we really have quite a few challenges at the moment. Oh, you said challenges, didn't I? Okay, right, one. Chalk up one on the bingo card for challenges. So, it's a weird time. We're working differently. We have to keep business going. We have to support our employees. We have to look after ourselves, our mental well-being, and also that of our families. And it's a lot to do. And so I'm going to take you through this talk on my top tips on how to stay productive and how to help your employees and anyone in your teams to stay connected and to, I guess, get everything done. I'm not a work productivity geek. That's not my thing. For me, it's about having a holistic view of what everybody has to do so we can work smarter with what we have. Basically, get things done. Go out and have that walk that we're allowed to have each day and just clear your head. So let's crack on. One of my other sayings, I like to crack on and I like to get shit done. So that's something that you're going to hear a lot from me in the next sort of 10 minutes or so. So why do I bang on about productivity all the time? I get asked that a lot actually. So be it from clients, be it from family, especially at home. I do like to plan things. I'm a bit of a moniker from friends and I don't apologise for that. I think it's fine. I still have one of those cupboards at the end of the hallway that no one's allowed into, and maybe that's an age reference that some people on the call won't understand, but it's fine. We'll go with it. The reason I talk about productivity is I have a fairly hefty project management background. I spent 15 years in industry, worked on major projects and pursuits. Large programs in the UK, the US, different global teams. I was at KPMG, I was in engineering, creative and digital industries in Brighton as well. I've worked across public sector, charities, the FTSE 100, Fortune 500, and there's no sector that I haven't actually worked alongside or been involved in, apart from nuclear, but that's fine. We don't need to go there. I'm not interested in that one. I keep busy. So as well as running a business, I'm also a business and student mentor at the Innovation Centre and for the University of Sussex. I'm the chair of a board for Grassroots Suicide Prevention, Brighton-based charity, and also volunteer for Re-Engage. And this year was one of 100 female entrepreneurs as part of the Small Business Campaign for 2020 in the UK. So I do quite a bit, and that's why I love productivity. So my ethos is life is short, so I help businesses get shit done. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about, and how you can help your teams as well. So 10 top tips on productivity. There are squillions out there. Go onto any website and you'll see the sort of hits of productivity are rising. We've got two ends of the spectrum. One which is, if you don't come out of this crisis with a new skill, then you're failing. Sorry, that's not okay. The other side is actually, if you're just up and dressed today, then you're winning. And I think there's absolutely a spectrum here. And what's really, really important is that we all understand that as business leaders, but we also have to understand it for our employees as well. Everybody's going through a really different time right now. So as we kind of went into the way we work now, there was a bit of a crisis point and a bit of a buzz around how we're going to get working remotely. And this is different for some people. It's very, very new for others. And for some people, working from home is actually part and parcel of what they do. But we have days and weeks where things change. And I think you'll probably all have experienced those ups and downs. They come quite quickly. And so it's really hard to work with a team when we don't all have the same kind of cadence. So thinking about working with your energy levels, so not against them. Think about when you're going to be most productive, and that applies to you and your teams. Potentially it's in the mornings, so thinking about how to block out time, which we'll cover shortly, to really get done what you have to get done. So thinking along the lines of doing the most strategic stuff first, then blocking out time to do the sort of day job, and then having admin time separately. Which is why on the left here we've got reducing distractions. So just unplugging can help your focus. Some people like to use Forest. It's a good app that just keeps everything locked out whilst you're working. So that can give you those times to kind of get your head down. We think about giving yourself a strategic task a day as well. So what is the one thing that you can do that really has an impact on your job or your business? Once you've conquered that, everything else starts to fall into place. And if you don't get everything else done, that's also okay. Thinking along with the meetings, the video calls, the Zooms, the Microsoft Teams, the Google Hangouts, the endless connectivity methods that we have, there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of different ways of staying connected. And I'd say absolutely stay regularly connected with your teams. If it's daily, it's twice a week, and make sure everyone's on a sort of an all hands call, or maybe have one-to-ones. Understand that everybody's different and everybody has something else going on at home at the moment. So keep your meetings and video calls to the point. Don't include everyone and their dog, although dog will walk in at some point, I'm sure. Try and keep it appropriate. People are zoomed out, and I'm sure that'll hit the dictionary next year as one of the new words. But people are exhausted. So actually being on a video constantly is much more tiring than being face-to-face. We can't read the physical cues that we normally would, and you absolutely have to focus. It's very hard to zone out. And I think there's also an expectation that because you're not going anywhere, you must be available. In which case, why can't you just log on to another call? But if you're not careful, they will rack up. And as a business leader, you will be impacted and your employees will be. So just think about how to keep things tidy, really. Also look at having a buddy or a backup plan for sharing workload. So if you have to work flexibly, in fact, you will be working flexibly. And this is the one opportunity I think that's really going to help shape businesses and how we work and how we expect employees to show up. Because you're working flexibly, just consider how people have to cut their days up now. So we're homeschooling, we have fairly independent teenagers, we have small children, we have other caregiving responsibilities, we have potentially somebody who's unwell at home. There's so much going on that it affects headspace and it affects our working day. So this is the opportunity, I think, to just tear up the rule book and say, okay, how does it work for you? So as an employee, what do you need? So potentially you're going to have some very, very staggered times throughout the day where people are working hard and people are saying, actually, I need to check out for a while. That has to be okay. It's how we all have to work now. So having a buddy is great for staying in touch and also having a backup. So if it's a case of, as Sheryl Sandberg would say about leaning in, but maybe it's a case that actually I need to step out for this one, and you just have that sort of role sharing options. Lastly, just think about the culture. So where you have agreed times to focus, times for admin and times for meetings. Potentially don't have your team meetings in the mornings if you can avoid it, because unless it really kickstarts your day or your week, having these video calls then gets tiring and it takes you away from being able to get your head down and focusing. So if everyone can just start the day by focusing on their main task, then you can catch up with people later in the day. And also, our attention is much more limited now. So divide and conquer the big tasks. Share them out amongst the team or try and split them out throughout your day and your week so people aren't overwhelmed or overburdened. So a lot of tips there. They're pragmatic. They are just crushingly sensible in order to help you get shit done. There's no fluff. There's nothing ethereal, and it's just good standard working practices. So a statistic I often talk to people in workshops about is this percentage of the working day that's actually productive. And it's about 30 to 40% typically. I think now it's probably less. And I don't advocate the do more with less approach and really, really pushing people, because you can't be there to help them as easily if there's a problem. It's not healthy to go and expect our employees to do the same. So actually being productive is not what we think it is. I love this graphic that really shows us, I think, what productivity actually is. It's not 100% hard work. There's a fair percentage of hard work, but there's also about being healthy, eating well, exercising, sleeping well, and taking time off. And productivity, I see as actually being present. So it's not just work, it's about being present in what you do and intentional. So if you're working, that's absolutely what you're doing. But if you're taking time off, the laptop lid is down, you're not checking in at 10 p.m. and you're resting. So just think about how you might structure your days and also encourage your employees to do the same as well. So to become more productive, there's sort of three things I'd just like to cover off, and it's around cutting out busyness. Busy is a byword for how we operate now. Everybody has to be busy, and it's not necessarily productive or healthy. So cutting out the extra stuff, the noise, the constant alerts, the social media, the different distractions really, really helps. Also understanding how to focus has a real impact on how we can get our jobs done. And think about culture and change in your business as well. So you might have to change as a team, as a business, to accommodate different working patterns, but it could be for the better. So do consider how you might change in the future, what you might have learned over this period as to what works and how other people might be supported best in the future. Now, I love a good exercise. So this is the productivity geek in me. So wherever you see a pencil in this talk, you know you can do this as an exercise on your own and with your teams. And I love this one, the circle of concern. So Stephen Covey exercise. In the middle is what we can control, very small normally. What we can influence is the next circle. And what's in our circle of concern is everything else. So I would start with a big piece of paper, do it on your own, do it with your family. Actually, it's great to get kids involved in this to really understand what's worrying them at the moment. And put it on Post-it notes, just put everything that's worrying you down on paper in this big circle of concern. And it could be anything. It could be finances. It could be coronavirus is probably going to show up. And put it all on there. And then take a real pragmatic view and say, look, what can I actually control? And once you understand what you can control, suddenly all the other worries kind of just sit outside. It helps to avoid overwhelm. It also helps people to take action. So it helps when you understand what you can control. It could be more than you think, or what you can influence could be more than you think. So in actual fact, you get much more clarity, and it helps you to just start to make progress in setting out what tasks you need to do. There's loads of research on this online, and it is a great exercise to do with families and with teams as well. So that way people start to take ownership on what they might be able to control and manage. We have also mind mapping. So another exercise you can do so easily. Mind map everything. So I'm sure you know what that is, but if not, you put your sort of topic in the middle, and then you have all the sort of spindles or spider legs coming off the outside. Write down everything that you have to do, and I mean everything. Even have one spoke for home stuff and finances and everything else for business. And once you've listed everything out, something you can help with avoiding procrastination is to put a letter S next to everything on there that's strategic. So does it align to the aims and directions of your business? Does it align to your goals? Or will you learn something from doing this? In which case, it's a big strategic task. I for important, so what is important versus urgent? Normally, urgent tasks are someone else's. Urgent or important, they're not yours. So think about what's important. Does it support a business goal? And does it serve your clients or your employees? In which case, put an I next to it. And E for effective. What are you great at doing? Are you better than someone else at this? And also, it doesn't take a disproportionate amount of time. So by working effectively, it means you can really focus on what you should be doing. And if everyone in your team does this, you get a much better plan of where people are at their best. If everyone focuses on just being brilliant at what they do well, then it makes it easier to sort of assign projects and different tasks. It's important if you've got people on furlough as well, and you've got other roles being covered, and there's a bit of overwhelm, or you might have other tasks needing to be done that not everyone understands how to do. So just doing this exercise to mind map and work out what is strategic, important and effective really helps with that clarity. And a to-do list. I do love a to-do list. So we've all got a long list. It might be on Trello, it could be on paper, it could be on the back of a fag packet. But an exercise I like people to work through is to just work out, top left, what do you need to do and want to do? Top right, what do you need to do and don't want to do? Bottom left, you don't need to do it, but you want to do it. I tend to put things like finding the best blog post picture in the world ends up on there, because in reality, it doesn't have an impact on our business, but we use it as a good distraction method. And then bottom right, somebody else is better at this. So that's how you delegate or you outsource. If someone else can do this better than you, this particular task, then have that conversation. This is how we delegate well. And it really helps doing this exercise on your own, and then also with your team, so you can run it as a team on one of your team calls, is when you understand where you should be putting your time and your energy. And even on here, if you put the strategic, the S, you put the I for important, and the E for effective, it helps you block out what you should be doing in those strategic time blocks in your diary, where you've got the most energy and you've got the most focus. And lastly, just look at your diary. Look at your days and step back, almost print it out and look at it on a page. You can run this exercise with your teams as well, so they can really get a sense of how to achieve what they need to do. Look at how you're going to take out everything it's a given. So you might have your team meeting on a Tuesday and you're having an online pub quiz on a Friday, which is a great way to stay connected with people. Agree on those strategic time blocks, even if this is an hour in the mornings or whatever works with your team. Get those blocks put in so they're sacred. That's when you're not going to be answering Slack messages or on Insta message or anything like that. Business, I've put business in. It's really what is critical to your role. So it could be, it's basically the day job for everybody. And then build in admin blocks. And if everyone has this sort of slight cultural shift where they understand that not everybody's going to answer an email instantly, that presenteeism isn't actually what's needed, then it's okay for people to respond to messages 3 times throughout the day. Put in half-an-hour blocks throughout the day. We don't need to be constantly on tap for everybody. And that's part of the reducing overwhelm point. It's too easy to get tied up in all of the stuff and the noise that happens. So just blocking out those times in the diary really helps people understand. And if you want to share this with your team on a calendar, brilliant, then everybody knows. I mean, this is an ideal week, for instance, but it should help just reduce the noise, the distractions, and also overwhelm. And my final tips on delegation. So just agree outcomes with people. It's really important now we're working remotely that people are super clear on their expectations and also that they understand how to ask for help. So be clear on the tasks or activities. Agree the resources, making sure it's a realistic amount of work and the timescales are achievable. And if supervision or support is needed, who is there to help? Give constructive feedback. So it could be a good learning point, but make sure you're sensitive to the fact that you don't give someone a rollicking and expect to be able to put your arm around their shoulders, because working remotely, we have to be really careful with how we communicate. And also look at who's best suited for this task. So you might have to use different people working on different things at the moment just because of the availability. That's okay, but just consider who's best suited and do they have a choice in the task. If they have a choice, typically people will take more ownership and accountability and you'll get a better result. So that's a whistle-stop tour of productivity, on how to stay connected with your teams, keep them engaged. There's lots of exercises in there. Please do contact the organisers if you want any more information. I've got my contact details here and I'm really, really happy to have a follow-up conversation or send out any templates or give you more guidance on the content that I've just gone through. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in and thank you to Silicon Brighton as well. Thank you.